Welcome to another episode of Nadi Digital Economy Malaysia. And with me is my colleague Dzof Azmi, and we're going to just get right into it. Some interesting stories this week. And one of the important stories I think we want to talk about, and Dzof, let me take lead with this and you can jump in, is actually a commentary written by Dato Wong Siew. He's actually got many roles at a national level, helping various industries, right? But this is in his capacity as the president of the Malaysian Semiconductor Industry Association. And this is a newly set up association to represent the voice of the semiconductor industry of Malaysia. And why is that important? For some of you may not know that we are a key part of Malaysia is a key part of the global semiconductor value chain. Right, about 7% of the semiconductor industry trade flows through Malaysia, through factories in Malaysia, not just in Penang, but in Melaka also. And you've got Kulim also High Tech Park, which is an important location. But even more important is that if you talk about the semiconductor industry, with the component that is called assembly and test, which is back end, Malaysia represents 13% of global capacity, 13%. And this is important. And you can, and I'll tell you, because in the recent earnings of many of the companies in the US and in Japan and Europe, those who are in this space have mentioned that they've had disruptions in their capacity to manufacture product. The demand is huge, right? We all know that even automotive industry now is a big demand, is a big source of demand. They need those chips that are made by the semiconductor industry. But demand has been disrupted, and because in Malaysia, the factories here have been disrupted because of COVID, and you've had lockdowns, and you've had a very strict SOPs put in place by the government also, and so Dato Wong is saying that the fact now that about 80% of their members, right, have had their 80% of their members, and I think there are maybe 16 or 18 companies, there 80% of their staff have been fully vaccinated already. So Dato Wong is saying that if you got this high of a vaccination rate now, if there are outbreaks in a factory and outbreaks can happen, don't be draconian and close down the whole factory like for 1 week or 2 weeks. And I think recently there was a 2-week period where all the semiconductor factories had to shut down. And he said, we cannot do that because we are losing out on a huge economic opportunity, because there's, by the way, I think it was been just recently announced over a period of like 2-3 months, $1 billion of investment by a few different companies, right, into Malaysia over the next 2 years off, right? And they're planning to like increase hiring by like 6,000 new jobs, right, from just this $1 billion. And this is over a space of 2 years. So it tells you how much there is demand for semiconductor supply, for the supply to increase. And companies which are doing that, which are based in Malaysia, are doubling down. But if the government continually overreacts and they feel that the government is overreacting, when you got outbreaks, Malaysia is going to lose out, because then the investment, Intel doesn't just have a factory in Malaysia, right? They've got the factory in Vietnam, and you don't call them factory, but a high-tech manufacturing plant in Vietnam. Obviously in the US, they've got in Costa Rica also. I hope I got it right, and not because I plan to vacation in Costa Rica, once we travel is okay. But anyway, they've got choices. If Malaysia is showing that we cannot deliver when the chips are down, so semiconductor using chips, right? Chips are down, they may move investments elsewhere. And Dato Wong, as the president, saying, "Hey, government, listen up. We already are doing a lot." He's not saying the government is not doing enough, right? But because there's these opportunities he said the government now has to do more to make sure that we capture all this investment that is being made, and the investment stays in Malaysia, and we further deepen our roots, right, into the value chain of the global semiconductor industry. And he mentioned a few things that I think Dzof, you're to talk about in what we should do further. I'll let you take that.
Yeah, I mean, apart from this issue of disruptions to production because of outbreaks, he's also talked about the need to get more talent into the country, right? And he's talking both about what I would call the lower skill type of talent, foreign workers.
Top floor,
he talks,
need them,
and also really engineers, talented, skilled engineers.
Yes.
And he made this specific point, in the same way that Malaysian engineers are going to other countries, Malaysia should be open to get engineers from other countries.
Totally agree with him, man.
And I think I think I was saying to you, Karam, that these talent issues have been around for a long time. I mean,
Yes.
this is a big issue. I think one of the things that I think some people find surprising is that an engineer from India might come to Malaysia, but they're actually not earning more in Malaysia than they are in India, possibly. It's just that they see Malaysia as a potential springboard to move to other countries like the US. And this was before pandemic, of course. And I think we're trying to emphasize that there needs to be a recognition that there is a flow of talent, rather than this idea that talent just sits in one place and it doesn't do anything. They sort of flow in and flow out.
And to emphasize, right, Dzof, look, the semiconductor industry contributes about 28, no, there was 7% of Malaysia's GDP for 2020, right? Almost 600,000 jobs and almost 400 billion, it's like 380 billion ringgit, right, in GDP. So that is huge. And by the way, the first 6 months of this year, there's already been like a 28% growth over the same period of last year. We can tell you how dramatically the industry is growing in Malaysia. And all, you know, the Malaysian Semiconductor Industry Association is saying, guys, please step up and let's do more, which is why the headline of the article also was interesting, right? They're seeking government support for a strong rebound and strengthen the foundation for gangbuster growth. And really, the growth will be gangbuster. And it's interesting, Dzof, you mentioned this, right? Engineers, they said, let us also make it easy for our members to bring engineers in. But there's obviously a war for talent for a long time. But I thought it's interesting, he also mentioned the blue-collar workers and the undocumented migrant workers in Malaysia. What do you think of that call by him?
Well, because I think the question, again, without looking at the data, so the question is, to what extent is there sufficient labor force in Malaysia to satisfy those blue-collar worker jobs? And I think previously we felt, yes, there is enough, right? There is enough. It's not particularly high-end. You don't have to have a vast amount of talent, but you need to be able to do certain things well, and then you can get in at that level. The fact that they're asking for it, I assume, means that the demand for it, the capability for them to expand has really grown over the last, 12, 18 months. And I think that would be the reason why. So it sort of makes some sense if that's the case.
He's saying also, right, the undocumented migrant workers, let us tap them. And those that we hire, you can legalize them, right? No, but,
see, this is
2 or 3 million undocumented workers, right? Some, I think, is closer to 6 million, but you know, so he's saying there's maybe 2-3 million, which is like double the legal base, right? Which is embarrassing to think that our country is leaking. We've got more holes in our borders, right, than a sieve, right? Or I don't know what analogy I will use, but we really got to solve that problem, because Khairi Jamaluddin also mentioned that it's a big weakness in our vaccination strategy also. But let's not go to that. But this is an interesting point and very important industry in Malaysia. It's growing, right? So this is it's a hot industry for Malaysia. FDI is coming in, lots of engineers needed. So, you know, that's the situation now. And they're saying, hey, let us use the existing talent in the country, blue collar,
but
white collar, let us
bring
it from elsewhere.
While COVID is still disrupting their operations, it's very hard to ramp up smoothly. And I think you can make an argument that you can use these factories as sort of a testing ground for slightly less stringent conditions if your vaccination rates are very high. And I'd be very interesting to see that.
See, by the way, the fact that you said there was stringent lockdown, remember I said the industry for the first 6 months of this year has had a 28% growth over last year. So despite the lockdowns, so the government has bent over backwards a bit, right? To maybe not bent over backwards, but has accommodated them. But they're saying accommodate us more. Malaysia wants to capture that FDI. Anyway, let's leave it at that, and let's move on to Singapore and Myanmar. What's going on with your favorite topic, right?
Well, this isn't a solid thing yet. It's a MOU between Singapore-Myanmar Co and Hatton Land, and these are two companies that have signed this MOU, and what they plan is to do what they call, and I'm using their words here, energy efficient green cryptocurrency mining, right? So the idea is that they want to put solar panels on rooftops of malls owned by Hatton Land, and then use the energy generated from that to do cryptocurrency mining.
Okay.
Now, it's the sort of thing that tickles me because it's sort of like, it sounds so funny and strange. And if it's a great idea, how come not everyone's doing it? But then perhaps it is a great idea, and perhaps we should take a look at it more seriously, right? I mean, would you cover your house with solar panels, Karam, so you can generate cryptocurrency on the side?
I already have solar panels on my roof for 10 years, right? Under the Malaysian government program to encourage, individual house owners to install solar panels on their roof. So I've got 3 megawatt hours, and it's, so that's there. But I would not use it. I would not try to monetize it by feeding it into a cryptocurrency operation. And by the way, this again, if you step back, right, a deal like this also has come about because China now, cryptocurrency is like a no-no there, right? In terms of mining it. And now, even now, they just came up with something yesterday to say that they've banned cryptocurrency or some aspect of it, right? But so this is opportunities for other countries to mine cryptocurrency for sure. Bitcoin. And Malaysia obviously is already, I think we've spoken about it, is one of the leading destinations in the world. This is where I think TNB needs to come out with our power ministry. We don't have a green tech ministry, power ministry, to say that, hey, we may want to allocate 3 locations in Malaysia as locations where we are certified that you can come and do any cryptocurrency mining you want. And, we'll guarantee you the power you need, and we'll make sure it's safe also. And you'll get the power, in a timely and seamless manner without disrupting surrounding society or surrounding businesses. If you can come up with something like that, and I think you need our power company TNB to be, to say jointly say it with the power ministry, then you have at least clarity and peace of mind and maybe regulations also that make it easy for entrepreneurs and investors to take a bet. So until you have that, you'll probably have this bit piecemeal, initiatives coming out here and there saying we're going to do this, we're going to do that, because they see opportunity. So I think that's this story here is saying that we need this, clarity and some regulatory support from the government before we can entertain all these people. So that's all I'll say about that.
Okay, because I could just say most cryptocurrencies are a scam, and we just shouldn't get into bed with any of them. I could say that.
So
but
even
but
more,
you're right.
We need a place where we can safely, observe them, monitor them, and provide them with a safe space where they can go and do their mining if they want to. But let's leave it at that then. So let's go to something not so spooky, but Area 57. Dzof, do you want to take this?
Well, Area 57, which is very reminiscent of Area 51, the famous UFO landing site in America. Well, it's not. What will be landing in Area 57 in Malaysia are drones, because it's the name of the drone testing area set up by Technology Park Malaysia. It's a 2-hectare area. It will be a sandbox. It will carry out research, testing, certification, commercialization, maintenance. So, Karam, I've been taken out to this plot of land. Like a year and a half ago, I think, 2 years ago, and they showed this is the land that's going to be the drone testing area, and really, it was just an empty plot of land, nothing else. Of course. I guess as reporters, we're grateful when they show us things like this, but there was really nothing to see at the time. I think it's a good idea in principle. That the drone industry in Malaysia, is potentially a big industry. Aerodyne is one of the world's biggest, or the world's second biggest. At the moment,
there was a report just out on a ranking that has been there for years, and they've been steadily moving up. And the latest ranking that came out maybe on Wednesday night or Thursday showed that Aerodyne is now the world's leading drone company, right? But in the remote sensing space, right? Remote sensing is where you do, inspection and monitoring of agriculture and, geospatial work. So Aerodyne is number 1. So if you've got the world's leading company in the space, you can obviously logically, want to try to promote and encourage, deeper level of development of an ecosystem using that, right, as a hook, and with government support now. So this sounds like an interesting idea. But when you talk about, and we want to move on to the next story, but the minister comes and announces this, we got the space and we're all behind it. But you talk about R&D, and you talk about center of excellence, you talk about talent development. to me, the missing gap is that I would have loved if there was a university or 2 or 3 universities and a polytech, together in that announcement to say that we will be the centers of excellence to provide the supply of talent, right, into the drone ecosystem, not just drone pilots, but from the engineering space also, geospatial experts or whatever, many things like remote sensing. And they didn't do that. So which then makes you think that they did not think this through carefully, right? Because obviously talent is a key part. If you want to be a center of excellence, you must have talent and researchers, and they missed out on that part, which is, to me, is disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to play in this playground, right? That's the question. And there's a great opportunity because the players are here.
Okay, great. So with that, we have come to yet the end of another episode of Nadi Digital Economy Malaysia. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please like our video on YouTube and also put in some comments. We will answer those. And I'm going to be bold enough to say that next week we've got an interesting story around My Sejahtera. This issue about the payment, government paying, for the app now, and what started out as a CSR. I think at least one MP is upset that it's a backdoor, kind of payment. They say we must never allow this to happen in Malaysia. But we're going to bring a bit more perspective and context to that argument, whether that is misplaced or not, right? So we'll see you again next week. Look forward to it.